Hey guys, Bill Competition Cars. So you guys have requested to see some videos of my personal cars. So today I'm going to go over this Ferrari 1993 512 TR. This is in my personal collection. It has 10,000 miles. I've owned it for about a year and a half. Now I've always had a love for Italian cars, in particular the Ferraris. My first one was a 76 308 GTS that I bought back in the early 90s from Foreign Cars Italia. I was up there in Greensboro buying cars for another dealership that I was working for at the time, and zipped in Foreign Cars Italia. They had this silver over red interior 308. I want to say they were asking like 24 grand. I wound up paying 22 for it. That's back in early 90s. So over the years, I've had different Ferraris. I've had some 308s, I had some 328s. And going back to probably 1999, I had a 328 red car, tan interior. And I remember having it. This is when my car lot was still in Georgetown, South Carolina. I remember a guy coming up and go, "Oh, hey, nice Ferrari." And I was showing it to him. He says, "Yeah, I see you bought the cheap one." So at that point, that kind of offended me. I'm like, "What do you mean the cheap one?" He said, "Oh, you don't have the Testarossa. You got the 328. That's kind of the entry level one." So that kind of motivated me to find a Testarossa. So the next car that I bought was an 88.5 Testarossa. And I think I've owned it around 98, 99, sold it around 2000. Haven't had I've had one other one since then. I had a 360 Spider, I believe it was a yellow car. It was a Euro car a few years back. So wound up selling that. But anyway, so recently, within the last year and a half, I started binge watching Miami Vice reruns. And as soon as Don Johnson got the white Testarossa, I just got the itch to buy another Ferrari. And my goal was to buy a white Testarossa. Well, as you know, these aren't the easiest cars in the world to find. Long story short, couldn't find a white one. Didn't think I could afford the 512 TR because it's a lot more refined car, more horsepower, and it's a lot more valuable. So I wound up selling. I had a 1,000 horsepower Supra that I owned for 15 years. I wound up selling to one of Christian's buddies, and I had an Evora S that I had for about 5 years. So I sold those two cars to generate enough money to buy a Testarossa. What I did not have enough money to buy was a 512 TR. So as I'm looking and I'm searching the internet every day, can't find a white one, I stumble across this one. It was on Facebook Marketplace for a long time. He had a very aggressive price on it, and I said, you know what? Let me look into it. So I call the guy, look at the car, tells me some of the stuff that the car needs. I said, all right, well, I'm going to fly up and look at the vehicle in person. Me and Christian fly up. I see the color. I was like, I want a blue Ferrari. I was like, I don't think that's a great color. And Christian's like, well, let's go look at it and see. So the second that we saw this car in person, and this is before I even paint corrected it. I mean, this paint is a mile deep, the metallic in it's beautiful. It's called Blue Charo, or Charo Blue, one or the other. I'll raise the hood and I'll show you the sticker on what Ferrari calls it. So I go up there, I look at the car, and it's got a lot of eye appeal. I like let's open the door. I like the interior color off of the blue. It's got the blue dash, blue carpets, and the I know it's not called beige, whatever Ferrari calls this color. So the car needed a few things. I left it up in New Jersey. I bought the car, left it there, and had Classic Coach go through this car and do everything that they needed to, that needed to be done to bring everything up to date. I want to say, I won't disclose how much the bill was, but it was, it wasn't cheap. And then on top of that, I brought the car back here, put 4 new tires on it, and we wound up doing a clutch here and some other odds and ends. So now the car's up to par. It was missing some things that people want with these cars when they buy them. It was missing the spare. It was missing the toolkit. It was missing some books, the extra key. So I've kind of assembled all that over the last year and a half. If you look up under here, so it's called, it's Blue Charo, and that is the factory color. Now this is just a little attaché case I keep all my service records in. That was a brand spanking new NOS toolkit that a Ferrari dealer at the Midwest had that I happened to buy. And I actually bought this before I bought the car. And I figured, you know what, if I didn't buy the car, I'd still have the toolkit be worth some money. That's another toolkit that I picked up along the way, and that's a trickle charger, a Ferrari trickle charger. I was able to source an OEM spare. So that's the stuff that was actually missing. So I was able to get all that and kind of put a little put together back what this car kind of needed that was missing. That's part of the reason I got a good deal on it. At one point, this car had books, records, tools, And between the previous owner and the current guy, someone snatched all that stuff and I guess probably sold it to get some money off of it. And I want to just to spend the money to get it back. Come right this side, Christian. The car had 81 or 200 miles on it when I bought it. So anyway, I've been following these cars on Bring a Trailer and was watching some examples by a buddy of mine named Alec Cardio. I met him through Bring a Trailer, and we're now Facebook friends. So I'm watching some of his examples of his Ferraris going through. I'm watching, there's another guy called Gated something or other, and they were selling a lot of Testarossas and 512s. So 6 or 8 months ago, I watched one with more miles than mine in silver bring $430,000. And when I saw that, again, I was in no market to sell it. It wasn't in the mood to sell the car. But my coworkers, my son's like, hey, that's a lot of money. You don't have that much in your car. Why don't you submit it to Bring a Trailer, sell it? And then Christian was trying to encourage me to buy a Huracan, which I would like to have at some point. Yeah, Christian. He persuades me quite a bit. Anyway, so I submit the car to BAT. They agree to a $300,000 reserve. I take all the pictures. In the meantime, I'm doing all my research, and I get the name of a woman by the name of Kathy, and she's one of the editors or publishers of the Ferrari Market Letter out of Atlanta, I believe is what it's called. And I said to her, I said, listen, I'm getting ready to sell my Ferrari. I want to get some specs on the car and find out how many exist in this color. So about a week goes by, and Kathy calls me and says, hey, did you see the email that I sent you? I said, no, I did not. So I pulled up. She goes, you need to read it, look at it. So it turns out, in 1993, only, from her records, from what she could find, only 2 93 512 TRs were imported to the United States in this color. She says, Bill, if you sell the car, you're crazy. She goes, what would you even buy? And I said, well, Kathy, I said, if I do sell the car, I would buy a Huracan. And of course, she wasn't about that. She said, like, no, you can't do that. She said, don't sell your car. It's a very rare car, very rare color. And if it's nice and it's clean and you've got all the service updates, she goes, you'd be crazy not to sell it. She goes, you could sell that car with a phone call anytime you want, ever. So don't do that. Keep the car. So I had to change of heart. I had to, unfortunately, get a hold of Bring a Trailer and say, look, guys, I'm getting some seller's remorse already. I really just don't want to sell the car. And one of the determining factors, besides it's just a sweet car in beautiful condition, again, there's only 2 that were imported in 93 in Blue Taro with this color combination. So it makes the car kind of special. It's got, I think right now it's got 10,600 miles on it. Dash is in good shape. Everything's clean. It looks good. So I did a very extensive paint correction on the car. And the one thing I could kick myself on the ass for is I'm a big, a lot of the cars you see me sell on Bring a Trailer are these low mile cars from the 70s, and they have the original tires on them. So when I got this car, it had the original Goodyears on it from 93 with 8,000 miles. So they had plenty of tread, but they were just dry rotted and flat spotted. So I buy the new tires, I take it to the tire store. I was so excited about getting the car back, I left the original tires at the tire store. A couple months go by, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot to grab those tires. So I call the guy back. I said, hey, it's Bill, Competition Cars. I said, you remember that Ferrari you mounted the new tires on for me? I said, yes. I said, did you happen to have, I said, what'd you do with the original tires that came off that car? He said, well, the front 2 I sold, and they're gone. He said, the back 2 I put on my drift car, and the cords are hanging out of them. And I was just disgusted because I just like keeping as much stuff with the car, original stuff, as possible. So I made the mistake of not keeping the original tires. I did have them, and I just made the mistake of leaving them at the tire store. He destroyed 2 and sold the other 2. But anyway, again, I just did this video to kind of show you the car. I put probably a little over 2,000 miles on it in a year and a half. And of course, when I first got it, it was a brand new car to me. So I did a lot of driving initially. So those first 2,000 miles were probably put on in the first 6 to 8 months. Today it's going in for its 1-year oil change. I used the correct Ferrari air fuel filter, the proper oil, and I'm getting my local. We have a pretty high-end BMW and Mercedes dealership down the street. So they have a couple of really qualified techs. I think one of their techs used to work at a Ferrari dealer years ago. So they've been taking care of the car for me if I need any kind of service work or anything like that. But it's just a beautiful car, rare color. And again, I did this video by the request of some of you guys that just wanted to see my personal car. And again, and that tag, I guess you got configured. It says My Vice, so it's kind of a play on Miami Vice. You know, I don't have a drug problem. I don't have women problems, but I do have a car problem. So my vice is these cars. So I thought that's kind of cool. It's a metal tag. It's not a legit tag, but you know, I'll put that on there for novelty purposes. And then if I drive it, I have a dealer tag that makes me legal. So check it out, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I've got a few other cars that we'll do at some point. I've got another kind of exotic, I guess you could call it. And then I've got some other muscle cars. I've got some Japanese turbo cars. But we'll eventually get around to that. But I thought you might like to see this when it's in the showroom, cleaned up, get ready to go in for its annual service again. And if I decide to sell it, I'll let you guys know, and it will definitely be on Bring a Trailer. And appreciate you guys taking a look.